When you arrive to church, you'll go to the Acolyte closet to get your vestments. It is located in the sacristy, in these doors. So open the doors, and then you will find the before the service prayer on the right side of the door, inside, your alb and your cincture. The cincture is the thing that looks like a rope. You simply will fold it in half, just like that. Then you'll put it around your waist. You'll have each end in different hands, and then you'll make the loop. There is actually a diagram on the inside of the door that shows you how to make this loop, and we can make sure that you learn. It's not hard at all. An easy way to remember how to light the altar candles is to remember this: the gospel never stands alone. So you'll always start by lighting the epistle side rather than the gospel side. As you can see, the epistle side is the right side facing the altar. After you have lit the right side or the epistle side, you'll go to the center of the altar and reverence the altar. Now move to the left side, which is the gospel side, and light it, and then back to the center. Just remember, the gospel never stands alone. When the altar is lit, you'll now go and light the torches in the same order as you see here in the video, which is fast forwarded, so you can move at a slower pace when you're serving. The order for the procession is first the crucifer carrying the cross. Right behind the crucifer are the torches, and that is you, the acolytes for the day. The choir follows the torches, and then the celebrant, Father Tommy usually, the priest, is last in line. Once the crucifer and the acolytes are in front of the altar, the choir will then reverence the altar in groups of 4. Finally, the celebrant will follow the choir and will be the last to reverence the altar. After he or she has reverenced the altar, you will then go to your places, one to the left and one to the right. You'll put your torches in the torch stands and go to the bench, get your hymnal, and find the hymn that we are singing and sing along until it is finished. Just before the gospel, we sing something that we call the sequence hymn. You will know it's time to start the gospel procession when you see the celebrant go to the altar and pick up the gospel book. That's your cue to go and get your torch and go out the gate of the chancel and down to the front of the pews, leaving enough space for the gospel to be between your candles. Remember to keep your candles at the same height. Following the gospel lesson, the celebrant will take the gospel book to the prayer desk. You will then walk into the chancel and put your torches in the torch stands. You will then walk to the bench and remain standing. After the offertory sentence has been said, the ushers will come forward and bring the oblations to the acolyte. And the acolyte takes the bread and wine and puts them on the credence table. The celebrant will then approach you with the paten, and you will tell him how many people are coming in from church school. You'll then hand him the rectangular bread box, and he'll put the right amount of particles onto the paten. Most of the time we'll also need the round bread box, which has a few more. He'll then offer a prayer for the bread, and take the chalice, and approach you with the chalice. Make sure when you hand the wine that you do so with the handles out, just like this. He'll receive the wine from you, you'll both bow, he'll fill the chalice with the wine, and then return it to you with the handles out. Next, you will hand the cruet of water to the celebrant, who will bless it, and then pour just a little water into the chalice as he says a prayer. He'll then hand the water cruet back to you with the handle out, and you can put it back on the credence table. The celebrant will now offer the chalice to God, just as he did with the paten. After the prayers have been offered, he will then approach you for the hand washing. You will simply put the towel over your left wrist, just like this, and then you'll hold the bowl in your left hand and pour water over the priest's hands with your right hand. The priest will dry his hands, and he will return to the altar. At this point, you can now return to the bench. Now it's time for the Sursum Corda, the Lord be with you and also with you, and so forth. When it's time for the Sanctus, we will all bow as we sing Holy, 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 and cross ourselves as we say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Then you will kneel for the Eucharistic prayer. Following the Eucharistic prayer, it's time for communion. The celebrant will receive his communion first. After he has received his communion, you will then go to the altar rail to receive your communion. After you've received communion, please either go sit in the pulpit or in the front pews quietly. After everyone has received, the priest will then finish whatever is left in the chalice. Once he has finished what is in the chalice, he will then approach you with the chalice. First, you will want to pour wine into the chalice. The priest will then drink that wine. He will then present the chalice to you again with his fingers over the top of the chalice. First, you will pour wine over the priest's fingers. Then you will pour water over the priest's fingers. He will then drink what is in the chalice and return to the altar and set the stack up with the veil on top.